And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, we promised a question and answer with the fans, and that's what we are here to do, to deliver upon our promise. This is a special edition of the Weighing In podcast where you get to ask the real punk, Josh Thompson, and me all the questions that you can come up with and see if we can answer them, which maybe we can and maybe we can't. We're going to find out. What's up, my man?
John, I always have the answers, buddy.
Oh,
you know
dude,
that.
yeah, but they're not right.
Even if I got to make this shit up, I got the answers.
There you go.
Fake it till you make it. That's what I'm.
All right, man.
All right, let's go, Dave. Let's give us a Q&A.
Just jump
All
right in.
First question comes from Goran Orellana, who asks for John. Although you were one of the best refs in the game, everyone makes mistakes. Is there a particular fight you ref that was maybe your worst stuff up in terms of stopping it too early or too late, etc.?
Can I hello? Hello.
Look at the part that cracks me up about my career is most of the stuff where people come up and say, "Oh, you screwed up this." Yeah, it was 20 some years ago. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you're gonna have mistakes and stuff, and it's because we were learning at the time. I screwed up the Sakuraba versus Conan fight, but there was a whole lot of things that went with it, and I was told to get him out of there quick because they didn't want him to get hurt. Because at the time, the UFC was in a lot of problems with people wanting to shut it down, and they said the guy's a pro wrestler, he doesn't know anything. We just had to throw him in there, but he actually could fight. I didn't know who he was at the time, so screwed that one up. But the main one that I learned a huge lesson from was Matt Lindland against Murilo Bustamante. That was at I want to say UFC 37 or so, somewhere right in there. But Lindland tapped. I saw him tap. I thought I went to stop it, and immediately he was going, "I didn't tap," and I touched him, and I was like, "Ugh." And I listened to him, and I made a huge mistake. And at the time, the rules said that if you stopped the fight, you had to put the fighters back to their corners. So I had to pull them up and put them back to their corners, which was horrible. But now I'm following the rules and restarted the fight. And luckily, Bustamante won because he should have won. And that was the biggest screw up that I ever made. A lot bigger than a headbutt.
Oh man, depends on who you are in that scenario.
Yeah.
What else you got?
How would you like to be pulled out of an arm bar?
Yeah. I would
Horrible.
have fucking murdered you. I've been so mad at you. I'd have been so fucking mad. Oh shit.
Same person for Josh. Hypothetically, who would have been your dream fight for the UFC lightweight title? Although you're good friends with the best two, PJ and Khabib, would it have been one of them or another great, as you wouldn't want to fight your friend? Maybe the money fight against Conor.
Yeah, I know who it would have been.
Yeah, it would have been Pettis, I think.
There you go,
Pettis,
boom.
Yeah, it would have been Pettis. Only based on the fact that he won the title.
It should have been.
It should have been. It should have been that. That would have probably been my fight. Only based off I knew that I could beat him, especially at that time. After my Nate performance, I knew how to beat him and I was prepared. And then also, when the fight was canceled, I thought, okay, cool. We're just gonna wait. I'll have some more time, to get prepared for it. And it just didn't. It never came to fruition. I even asked for it even later on, and just never came about. And the Donald Cerrone fight. Those were the two guys that I always asked for because all I ever heard was, "Man, Josh is coming back to the UFC. It's gonna be great. We're gonna see him fight Pettis. We're gonna see him fight Cowboy." And that was never even offered him. I wasn't offered Cowboy at all ever, and I really wanted that fight. And I had a lot of respect for both those guys, man. Both great fighters. Just never happened. I would say those are probably my one. Fighting Conor he was really relatively young when I was around. I really didn't look at it that way. I don't know. Wasn't anything. I thought maybe even an Eddie fight because I always respected Eddie. He was a dog. I loved watching him fight when he was with Bodog. I loved watching him fight when he was, with Bellator. So just a stud all the way around. So those guys, those are my three.
Next question is from Jeff Wary, who asks for John. Going into refereeing, a fight, do you always do research on each fighter for beforehand? Does the knowledge you have on them change the way you would react while in the cage? Example, letting Eddie Alvarez fights go a little longer because he always seems to have crazy comeback from behind wins after nearly getting finished. Hashtag and still.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Eddie was a guy that you knew was a guy that would end up getting hurt in the fight, but always managed to get himself back. And I always say the more knowledge you had, the better you were going to be. And so I would take a look. Unfortunately, with athletic commissions, they don't let you know what fights you're going to do. The only way that you knew what fight you were going to do is if you were refereeing in Nevada, and they had a championship fight, would have the commission approve who was going to be the officials for that. So you would know ahead of time if you were going to do a championship fight, which those guys anyways, but it does help. But I always would go over the entire card and look at guys that I knew and ones that I didn't. If I didn't know someone, I would try to go and look up fights and see where I thought that they were strong, where I thought they were weak, and it would help me have an idea. But you can't always, guys improve and guys change, so you can't always go off of what they did in the past. But yes, anytime that you could have knowledge about a fighter, it could help you in allowing a fight to go on when you might be thinking of stopping it based upon seeing what that guy has done in the past and how he's pulled himself back. Knowledge is power.
Next question for Josh and John from K804. What are your guys' takes on the oblique front leg side kick technique? Personally, I feel fans only say it should be illegal when guys like John Jones use it, but when others use it, it should be legal. What's your opinion? I think it should remain legal.
We've talked about this a bunch of times. I don't like the kick at all, but it's got to stay legal. I don't like it. I would love for it to be removed, but the problem is, though, it needs to stay in the game because it's effective. It's shit, but it is what it is, man. It's just part of the sport. There's nothing. I don't know how would you pitch an argument to have it removed? Like it's a kick. It's like, I mean, it's got to stay in the sport.
It could ruin someone's career.
It could.
It'll blow their knee out.
Yeah.
It'll ruin it. That's what I hear all the time.
Yeah. It could.
Yeah.
It could.
So could that kick to the head.
Yeah. That's the same shit.
Let me break this down as much as I have fought against this. I have, had more people in more positions of power tell me how that kick needs to be illegal. But they're absolutely 100% okay with Josh Thompson taking his shin and kicking it upside the forehead of Nate Diaz. And that's okay. Okay, because, that's good. It's like, you're going to tell me that kick's dangerous, but that kick is not. All right? You're being ridiculous. You don't like something because you don't like a look. What I'm going to tell you is this. Fighters practice all the time to learn how to stop a high kick, a kick towards their head. Now, you're going to see guys that will do one hand a lot of the time. And I will tell you, not a real smart way, but better than not blocking it at all. But you're still going to eat a lot of the kick, but it's not going to hit your dome. But you're going to feel the impact of the kick. Two hands, Dutch block, much better. Yeah. But you got to bring that other hand over. But it's going to definitely take the impact of the kick away, so you're not going to get hurt at all. But I'm going to give you a fight. Go back and watch. Robert Whittaker fights Israel Adesanya. And in that, there's a time where Whittaker really tries to use that oblique kick, and he comes at Adesanya hard. And Adesanya makes him pay for it because he's a trained fighter that has trained for that type of kick and knows the counter, and he makes Whittaker eat it. Okay, Whittaker misses because he steps back with the leg, and all of a sudden he's got a high kick coming in, or he throws a left hook and blasts him every time. That's what you do when you have a technique that you think can cause you a problem. I can tell you long ago, when I was sparring with the Gracies and Hoist getting ready, Hoist used to throw that oblique kick all the time. And I was always jumping back and figuring out. It was like, screw that. I'm going to blast him with the first time I threw a right hand, boom, doom, there he goes. It was like, oh, I know what to do now. I need to have my knee in a certain position. I have to do certain things to make it to where he doesn't want to do that again. Everything in fighting has a counter. Everything has a defense. If you allow someone to kick your knee while you leave your leg straight, you're going to get hurt. If you allow your head to be there for someone to high kick it, you're going to get hurt. Fighting hurts people. It's dangerous. There's a lot of things that go on in it. But to sit there and say, oh, we need to make that technique illegal, bullshit. There's too many things out there that are a lot more dangerous than that kick that you're not talking about making illegal.
Yeah, because I'm in the same breath of saying that kick should be illegal because I visibly can see what effects it has.
Yes.
The head kick you can't visibly see. You know the guy gets knocked up, the guy gets up, he walks probably to the back, and we don't see anything, because we don't see the concussion protocols and stuff that go on back there. But I'm also someone that have a case for knees to the head to a grounded opponent. So I'm like, you know what I mean? But
I would advocate for that too, but it's not going to work.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
the simplest thing is let's make it as simple as we can. Josh, I'm going to give you, I say this to people all the time, I'm going to give you a choice. I am going to throw an oblique kick towards your knee that you can't block, okay, that you're going to have to eat, or I'm going to throw a kick up to your head that you're not going to block, that you're going to have to eat. Which one are you going to take?
Yeah, I'll take the leg.
There you go.
That's true. Yeah. Small. Well played. Very well put that way.
Thank you.
What else you got, Dave?
John the Conqueror asks, Dear John, remember that
Oh,
one
damn,
time...
I thought you were talking about me for a second there, Dave.
John the Conqueror. John the Conqueror.
The Conqueror. All right, let's go.
Dear John, remember that one time in an early UFC when the guy stepped in the other guy's face after the ref stopped it and you jumped into the octagon to handle the situation? What did you say to the guy? His attitude changed real quick.
Boy, do you have a memory. That was Tony Freuchlin. And that was Tony Freuchlin before he was with the Miletich Fighting Systems and Pat Miletich and them. And he was a young kid. And it's funny, Joel Gold has a picture. At that time, I was really big and strong. And I picked him up under the arms, and I had his feet were off of the ground, and I put him over to the cage. He should have just punched me. But I told him, I said, it was very simple. I said, hey, you want to be a goddamn champion, start acting like one. What you just did, that's bullshit. And he immediately said, I'm sorry. I said, don't do that. You're embarrassing you. You're embarrassing everybody in this sport. We got enough problems. And that was really what I told him at the time. And it was, he's a great guy. I love Tony Freuchlin. Great guy. And thank God I picked him to do that with because he was very nice. He didn't do anything bad to me, right? But it was, for a long time, Joel Gold had that picture, and he would send that. I asked him, please do not, put that out there because it shows his feet are off the ground, and it just looks bad. And it was bad by me to do it. I would have, hopefully done something a little bit better now, but at the time I was just trying to control him and get his attention.
Well, you've matured a lot over the years.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just since I've known you, you've matured quite a bit. So,
but yeah, you couldn't. And Tony has had, he had some great fights. He had some, big losses. He had the loss to Anderson Silva. It was just horrible. Giant crack down his face from an elbow and stuff. But great guy, tough fighter. Really, couldn't ask for a nicer guy.
Yep.
Next question is from Just Saying. Who asks, what do you think about Henry Cejudo calling out Volk? And if Henry were to win the fight, wouldn't that be 3 belts and 3 different weight classes for him? And great podcast, guys.
He'd be the first guy to ever do it. 3 different weight classes. Look, he's been removed a little bit too long to throw him right back into that title shot. But that's a fight that I've always said that I would really like to see. I've always thought that. I think stylistically they match up very well. I think Henry out wrestles him to death.
Oh,
and I think Henry's
not
got to
even
get
close.
Yeah, it's not even close. Henry can control him on the ground, on the feet. I give it to Volk, but Henry's no slouch on the feet either. And so Volk does a lot of kicking, whereas Henry doesn't do as much kicking. Henry's got, I think, probably a little bit tighter boxing, but I think Volk's probably got the power.
Yep.
And so, like, you're putting those things together. It's like, it makes just for a really fucking fun
God dang it. Josh Thompson, man, I don't even have to say anything. That was beautifully put.
I'm on fire today, John.
Dude, you were all over that. You were right down the line. Everything you said, I agree with. I think you have to, though. You have to. If he came back, if the UFC could sign that fight, you've got to put him in that title fight. He was the 125-pound champion, became the 135, gave up the 125-pound title, defended the 135-pound title. How do you not allow him to go and take that fight?
We
were just talking about who you're going to put. Henry Cejudo would be beautiful.
He would be perfect, man. He would be perfect. I just think stylistically it makes for a great fight.
Yeah.
Like the two of them together, I think it's going to guaranteed fireworks. I mean, Henry's given up the size for sure. And probably maybe even the strength, but the technique of the wrestling, the timing and the speed, I'm going to have to give it to Henry, so he's just got to, I hope he's still training. I hope he's still, cause he does a lot of shit on Twitter. So if you're flapping your mouth this much, buddy, I hope you're training a little bit here. So I know he's got his baby coming soon. So he's trying to set up a college fund for right after that. So next.
Watch Out asks, hypothetically, you're in charge of the UFC and you have to cut one fighter from the top 5 in each division. Which fighters are you cutting? For the sake of time, let's make it 3 divisions.
I was going to give you, sake of time, we'll make it 3. Okay, which 3 are we making?
You
I have to cut a top fighter from where?
From top 5 and across 3 divisions.
So are we saying which 3 divisions are you picking? Let's say featherweight, lightweight, and middleweight, or welterweight.
Okay.
So featherweight right here, top 5.
All right, I'm cutting Yair Rodriguez.
Thank you.
All right, that was easy.
John and I can agree.
Lightweight, you got top 5 right here.
I'm cutting Tony Ferguson.
He's not in
and
the
I love
top 5.
Tony.
He's not in the top 5.
He's number 6.
Oh, he's not in the top 5. Oh,
No.
shit. Damn it. You just screwed me.
Well, we all know who Josh is cutting.
Fucking Michael fucking Chandler. See you later, son. It's been a pleasure doing business with you.
I'm going to have to cut Islam Makhachev just so Josh blows his mind right now. I'm just kidding.
You're out of your gosh.
I would be out of my goddamn mind. You know what? I would just go off of, man, I would say Michael Chandler or Beneil. It's a tough one.
Over Justin?
Yeah, because, dude, he is the human high. The dude fights every time. And that's what I really look at it and why I'm saying. But if I was going to say who's the more explosive fighter, who's the more dynamic fighter, Michael Chandler or Beneil, it's Michael Chandler. And so I really want usually to keep that guy over the guy that gets the win but is not as explosive. So, but I love Beneil. So that I don't want to give up on either guy. But all right, welterweight.
Yeah.
Welterweight.
It was an easy decision for me. Fucking Michael Chandler. Cut. Easy. Next.
All right, there's your top 5.
Top 5 for the welterweight
That's
division?
simple for me.
It
Who
is?
are you getting rid of?
Who am I getting rid of in the top 5?
I got mine.
I'm gonna say that John's gonna get rid of Colby Covington.
Yep. I'm just okay.
Oh, John's gonna get rid of Colby. I would probably get rid of Vicente Luque.
Oh no.
Yeah, I probably would.
Okay,
Look,
hold on. Name me a bad fight he's been in.
But here's the
Bad
thing.
fight.
He doesn't translate in terms. Look, I would say it's between him and Leon.
Don't you talk about his Portuguese and English.
No, it doesn't translate. That was good. Well
Translate.
played. No, him and Leon. Leon doesn't translate either to fans. And Vicente, he's relatively unknown. He's in the
But
top
Colby
5.
does.
There's not a lot of hype around him. Colby does. If I'm talking about marketability and I was in charge of the UFC, it would be I'd keep Colby because he's a talking mouthpiece. Obviously, Usman is the champ.
Yeah.
Stephen Thompson's on that border too. We're like, he's already fought. He's 30 years older.
The reason I would pick Steven, just age.
Yeah, that's it.
That would be the only reason.
That'd be the only reason, yeah. But with Vicente and with Leon, they just don't translate to views.
Yeah.
Like in terms of marketability, they don't translate. They don't,
Dude,
people don't tune in to watch them.
I will watch a Vicente Luque fight any time.
Yeah.
That dude is always putting on shows. He's fun to watch. I love it. I love watching it.
It sucks that we had to cut some people, but
I know. I don't like
it
that.
was,
It's a
the
bad
lightweight
thing.
division was easy for me. But next.
Next one from Jason Michaels, #andstill, BGM. Y'all have mentioned your involvement in Bellator fighter meetings several times. What exactly are they? What is your involvement, and do all promotions do them?
fighter meetings are for us to talk to the fighters. It would the people that are sitting on the fighter meetings are the announcers. So if it was a Mauro Ranallo, Josh Thompson, Jen Brown, producers will sometimes sit in, executive producer. That's really who they're for. And what we're there to do is, talk to them about, what they've been doing, how their camp has been, where they see their opponent being strong, where they believe that they can take advantage of them, things like that. That's just basic stuff. It's the information that we might be able to use on the broadcast. Most of the time, fighters don't want to tell you a whole lot. They're going to try to hold back on certain things, but sometimes you hear things from other people and then you kind of surprise them with what you ask them and they're like,
Yeah, it's you guys saw the Diego Sanchez and the Joshua Fabia thing. Those were like fighter interviews. So the fighter comes in, you have the press row, you've got not the press row, you have people that work like Megan O'Leary, you've got with Jen Brown with us, you've got Laura Sanko, like they're involved. Paul Felder, DC, Rogan never goes to him, I would imagine. I've been told he doesn't go to him, but that group, you have that group, Anik, they're there. It's really the moment for you to sit down with the fighter a couple days before their fight. Their weight's getting down. You're wanting to see how much their weight cut is affecting them and have a real direct conversation with them. And the more that you know the fighter, the more next time we have the fighter meetings, they tell you a little bit more. And every time you meet with them, they tell you a little bit more because they feel now they feel comfortable with you. And on top of that, they also know that you're not going to go out there and blab it in terms of what they told you before the fight. You're going to use it to market them during the fight. And if I was to give any advice to anybody that's trying to get into the commentary team or any of that type of stuff, it really just comes down to taking all that you can to make that fighter on TV the biggest fighter in the world. That's what you got to do. Like whatever information they give you is to make sure that you can talk about them in such a highlight real type fashion when they're on TV. Then that's what I tell them. I say, whatever you tell me, I'm only here on TV to make you to be out to be the number one star, to be the champ, to be the biggest threat to whoever you're facing. And so my job is to market you and make you the biggest and the best fighter I've ever heard of or seen. So
while being honest.
Being honest. Yep.
All right. Next is from the Spartans, who asks a question for both John and Josh. How do you think Colby Covington would do at 185? How would he do against Izzy with his cardio and wrestling?
He could knock the fuck out. He would get knocked the fuck out. Izzy would fuck him up. It wouldn't even be he's not a fast striker. His striking is garbage. Don't get me wrong. He's got a lot of output, but there's no power behind him.
That's the biggest problem.
And that's the other thing. Izzy would have no concern. That what you saw with Anderson Silva, Vitor Belfort, that would happen all. You just keep lifting Colby up, just to be knocked out again. Lift him up. He wouldn't even be able to get in on Izzy's legs. He's just too long. He's got too much power.
Too dangerous.
Yeah, way too dangerous. It's precise.
The difference in striking when you're looking at to say that Colby couldn't take Israel down, he could. He could actually. It's not an impossibility. He could definitely get the takedown.
You're fishing there, buddy. You're fishing.
But I'm being honest here. But to get to that position you've got to face that danger, and that danger he's going to face with Kamaru Usman is there with the striking, but Kamaru Usman's striking is not Israel Adesanya's striking. No. And we've been talking about how Kamaru has been getting better and better. He's never going to be at the level of Israel. Israel showed you how dangerous his striking is especially when he fought Paulo Costa.
Yep.
When he fought a guy that felt like he was a guy that was not going to try to take him down, he showed you what a true striker can do. Now, obviously, Colby would be working to take him down, but he's going to end up the size difference at 6'4" for Izzy, and the length is going to cause Colby a lot of problems. And there is a definite. That's just what I was going. There is a definite difference in their speed, and it's not like Colby's going to be getting faster going up. And Israel is already faster than him. So I just don't see it as a fight that Colby would want. Not a good fight.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. After you don't get one or two takedowns,
Oh,
Colby's going to be on his back foot. It won't be the same. He's going to realize that he's getting more tired, and it's going to be harder and harder to try to get in on him. And then you just start fighting backwards, and you're just taking bigger, harder, cleaner shots. And Izzy is so precise, man. So accurate with his striking. And it's not going to be good. It would be embarrassing. Yeah, not a good fight.
Next
Next.
question comes from Martin LeMay. Would you support a rule that prevents a fighter that missed weight from receiving a win bonus and getting up in the rankings?
Would you?
when you say win bonus, you're talking about a promotion. The UFC gives bonuses. That's not a win bonus. It's a bonus on performance. Because when we talk win bonus, the UFC has show money and win money. And to sit there and say that they cannot receive the win money, they're not going to fight.
Yeah.
They're not going to fight. So to sit there and say, you know, oh, we're going to cut that, they'll say, okay, I'm done. I didn't make weight. I'm out.
Yeah. That's half your money. Because in the UFC, it's half and half normally.
Yeah. It's a 50-50
That's a lot
cut
of
on
damn
it.
money.
Well, you know, the thing that needs to happen with weight, you know, when someone doesn't make weight, the 20% doesn't affect some fighters enough, you know, and so more like 50%. So if you do, you get your win, but you're going to lose 50% of it. Now you've got a decision to make, because you could be losing 50% plus, you know, not getting that win bonus. So you're really getting cut, you know, as far as, you know, how much you're going to make. It's a tough position. We've talked about, you know, hey, you know, do we start the fight off with you're down a point, you know, based upon so many pounds that you missed it by, or things like that. Because the person who made weight is at a definite disadvantage, and it may not be so much as far as the weight itself. They're at a disadvantage that they had to suffer for that moment that maybe this person decided I'm not going to suffer for in making that weight. Making weight is never fun.
And that could be about an hour. It could be an
Oh,
hour
yeah.
of sitting in a sauna.
Yeah.
That could be more than an hour. It could be 3-4 hours.
Yes.
You know, sometimes what people have to remember is that your body stops sweating sometimes. You need to give it some time to rest and relax, to rejuvenate or regenerate water to get out of it. And so there's been times where, like I said, I've almost been in tears the night before, you know, weigh-ins, because I just quit sweating. I still had like 6, 7, 8 pounds to go.
That's
I'm like,
why
shit,
he was in
panicking.
tears, because he was trying to lose more weight. So he only figured out the only way he could do it is by crying.
By crying and spitting, you know? And so it's frustrating. So you go back home, you sleep, you wake up in the morning, and you're able to get some more water out of your body. But there's moments where, you know, you spend hours sweating, suffering. Like here, in that moment, I had to go home and sleep, just fucking miserable, obviously upset, but it was like miserable over the fact that I had to sleep through the night being, you know, depleted like that. And if someone gave up, if I had just given up and said, fuck it, the next 6 pounds, whatever, I'll just take the hit, the 20%, I'm good. You know, so I think it's got to be a per pound thing, percentage.
Yeah. That's the way
think
I've always looked at it. If you miss by a pound, it's the 20%. You miss by 2 pounds, it's going up to 30 or 40%. You miss by 3 pounds, there's a definite percentage change based upon how many pounds you missed by.
Yep.
And what about rankings? You just stop someone going up in rankings?
No, I don't think if you don't make weight, you're not fighting in that weight class. So how do you have a ranking in that weight class?
Yeah, you should be allowed.
That makes it tough.
Yeah, that was the Mackenzie Dern situation, right? She was in the rankings and she had never made the weight, but she had like 2 fights or 3 fights, and they put her in the rankings already. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of hard. Someone's like, hey, it's so funny because I can't remember what female fighter came. I was like, how is she even in the rankings? She's never actually made the weight to fight in this weight class. Like, so how is she in the rankings? But then now she's a stud. She's you know, made the adjustments and absolute animal. Next.
Joaquin Luna asks for John, why aren't there any referees such as yourself inducted in the UFC Hall of Fame? Does Dana White not appreciate the history of referees in MMA, or is it just a matter of time before we see referees get inducted?
That, you know, you're gonna have to talk to Dana White about that one. It's the UFC's Hall of Fame is something you look at and you can say they at one time it was all fighters, then they did the contributors section or whatever they call it, along with pioneers, and to try to, you know, bring things in play. But, you know, if you are if you're on Dana's team, if you're one of Dana's guys, you can have an average career and you're in the Hall of Fame. Or and if you're not one of his guys and you have a great career, you might not be in the Hall of Fame. So a true Hall of Fame is not done by, I can't say that. I don't want to say it true. Most Hall of Fames, when you look at them, this goes against what we just talked about before on a podcast, is, it's done by, Baseball Hall of Fame is done by the writers. But then again, writers, sometimes they get stuff wrong too, but they have it with so many that, you take a look and, Pete Rose not being in the Hall of Fame, you look and you go, get too personal on it. I don't worry about it. It doesn't matter to me. And I don't think about it ever until someone asks a question like that. So if I ever get asked, it's all good.
They asked Frank Shamrock and he turned it down.
Yeah.
I
think that's I think that's so the person who used to be in charge of it kind of put out there that was the problem with me. They were afraid I would turn it down.
Why? I mean, I don't think you would. You don't seem like you're that salty.
I'm not. It's like
You're not a salty person.
Well, the funny part, everyone has got this thing about, oh, you're against the UFC. I love the UFC.
Yeah,
I will always love the UFC. Way. Yeah, I don't know where people get that, but that's just perceptions about you said something and they took it a certain way. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, when you say one thing bad about something, all of a sudden now you're against it. No, that's not actually how it works.
No,
I just don't. I was against that.
Don't like what they did there.
Yeah, that's it.
So I'm being honest.
Yeah. All right, next.
Liam Myth asks, if someone hits a body lock takedown with their head tightly pressed against their opponents and after the takedown lands, the contact between heads and the canvas cause a knockout, is it considered a headbutt finish?
No, if you have no separation from the heads, and my head is against Josh's head, and we all know that I have a much harder head than Josh.
Yes, we do.
Okay, because he's always saying I'm a hard head. Yeah. But my head is against Josh's, and in that body lock, I never move it away, and he gets knocked out, but there's not that separation and then impact. It's not a strike. Could it have an effect in him being where his head doesn't move, and that actually, sure it is, but if there's no separation, then there's no clash of heads. That's just part of the takedown. So there has to be separation and then that impact for it to be a unintentional headbutt or intentional, depending upon the way it's called.
See, that's another thing, John. I actually always thought it would be considered a headbutt. So I always, right as the fighter started to go down, I would pull my head away so I didn't hit my head against them.
No,
thinking that shit, if he does, sure, I'd like to do the damage, but if he does get knocked down, and they go back and they're like, oh, it's from a head clash or a headbutt or your head hitting his jaw, it's done. You GQ. And I was like, fuck. So I always try to separate myself.
No,
I love the body lock takedowns.
Oh, it's great. Well, Tito Ortiz, when he fought Evan Tanner, go back and look at where his head's at, but there's no separation. There's never that moment where there's an actual, clash. It's his head doesn't allow Evan's head to have any room, and it comes down with it, but there's no, so it's legal. You can go back and look at Rampage Jackson did the big fucking slam on Ricardo Arona, and not only was the slam, impactful, as his head bounced up, their heads clashed. So there was an unintentional clash, but that actually cut Rampage because it was his mouth, the bottom teeth cut Rampage right along his eyebrow there. So you can have the difference, but I guess a lot of people. I had someone that's high in the sport ask me on a text just the other day. Look, can I take my knee and slide it onto my opponent's face? Yes, you can. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can take your knee and put it. What you can't do is drop your knee onto your grounded opponent's face. You have to put it there, slide it on there, and then you can put as much weight on top of it as you wish, but there can't be that impact. We're looking for the impact. Yeah,
you can step on the face.
Well, yeah, you can put your foot on it.
And then I can just start to push down and pull up at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Next.
Next question from Stupendous Sports asks, hey Josh, if you can have one last fight in the UFC today, hypothetically, who would it be? Someone long and lanky?
So no, actually, I don't want to fight those long and lanky guys.
It's gonna be
I
John
don't want to
Norton.
fight the short. I don't want to fight exactly. I smash that guy every chance I get.
It'd be an elevator match.
Yeah,
We're gonna make it, instead of a ladder match, we're gonna make it an elevator match. I think we've got that.
call HR. I'm
Inside joke.
joke. Yeah, sorry guys, I can't tell you.
I'll tell you.
Who? No, you will not tell them. I think right now, man, I don't. If I was to pick a dream, like I don't even want to fight. That's the thing. I have no desire to fight anymore. I don't even want to have a conversation about who I'd want to fight because I don't want this to get stirred up into being, oh, Josh said he could beat this guy. No, that's not what I don't even want to fight. If I had to do, like, say you're saying like a very hypothetical, is I would probably say maybe like a Connor, only based on the fact because I know it's going to bring money. That's it. It's like a lot of money. That would be the only fight, and like that would be it. And if I had to pick somebody, I'd probably fucking maybe pick a female because maybe I have a chance to win at this age. Like, that's it, man. Like, I don't have any desire to fight anymore. So when I start thinking about, you said like, if it's a hypothetical, you could pick a fight. I walk past the cage now and I hear those guys get hit and I'm like, yeah, fuck that. I can't believe I did that shit for so many years. It's crazy. All right, next.
Next one is from Warren Moya. For Josh, what is the one move technique you wanted to finish a fight with that you never got to execute?
Oh, that's a good question. I like that one. He wanted to hit the twister.
No. I just knew it wasn't reliable. It was like so sweaty. It's so kind of easy to wiggle out of in that position. I mean, I don't know. I never really had like a technique that I really want. I finished people with triangles, arm bars, guillotines. I mean, rear nakeds. I mean, I had a lot of finishes in side chokes. I'm trying to think jiu-jitsu wise. I mean, fucking everything. Almost everything I thought of. Like, yeah. There wasn't really anything specifically that I would have liked to have finished somebody with. Is it just talking about submission wise?
Move technique. Move technique.
No, I have a head kick. I have a couple head kick knockouts.
A pace choke. A buggy choke. Come on, you got to pick something.
Nah, you know what? This is the thing. If you go back, there's a fight of mine. I would have loved to finish a fight with a headbutt. No,
you did.
One of my fights. One of my fights was one of the most devastating knockouts. I would say it's the most devastating knockout I ever had. I fought this kid who was from Arizona. I believe he wrestled at Arizona State. His name was Jason Abijan. Short, like stocky, wrestler, like buff kid. Came out. I fought him in Arizona. I dropped him with the right hand. When he hit the ground, because he was kind of like went down just like limp. But when he hit the ground, he bounced off the canvas. And right at the moment, his body was probably only about, I'd say, 2 inches off the ground. But his whole body was off the ground. And at that moment, I hit him with a shin kick across the face. So he wasn't a grounded opponent, but I felt bad afterwards. But it was like, if I was to think in terms of like, if I look at a highlight reel knockout, that's the one. I hit him. He was against the ropes. He literally fell. And as he fell, I was already throwing the kick. I was trying to catch him on the way down, but I was so slow that he actually bounced. And then I hit him on the bounce up.
Don't put yourself in that position, man. Make it big.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But that was the fight that I'd say was the biggest.
Grounded fighter wasn't a rule back in the 80s, though, was it?
In the 80s, you're funny. This guy.
I think I'm gonna pick that Josh would have loved to have finished a fight with a spinning back fist.
Yeah. I wish one of them would have tried. I wish that fight would have ended with a spinning back fist.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, fuck that
spinning
fucking
back
fight.
fist finish, man. That would have been awesome.
It's so funny that people talk shit because I'll post like people will post about the Nate fight and then I'll just repost it, because like, hey, thanks, sir, I appreciate the support. And people are like, oh, you still talking about that fight? Oh, but you got knocked out by Yves Edwards. That shit was happening 7 years ago. I was like, yeah, the Yves Edwards fight fucking happened 20 years ago, motherfucker. It's like what are you're bringing up a fight that happened years and years, like fucking almost 10 years before that. Anyways, it was funny. I had to rant for a second. Next.
Next question for Big John comes from Ghost. For Big John, over all your years of interacting with fighters in and out of the cage, who's the undisputed NMF, nicest MFer?
Oh my God, there's been so many that are just great people. It's just to take and put it into one. One of the guys that's considered one of the nicest MFs is Stephen Thompson. He is. Just one of that's why I didn't want to put him off on the list, because I like him so much, even though I was just going to go off of age, which is wrong because then I'm being discriminatory, even though I'm way older than him. But he's a great person, so he's super nice. But I'm just telling you, 98% at least are great guys. Yeah. Then you'll get the 2% that are like Josh Thompson. Hey, no one likes him. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Seriously, it's about 98% great guys.
Yeah,
and then you'll get the one that you go, all right, I see your gimmick, and I like the fact that you play it out, and in reality, you're a really good guy.
Yeah,
and it's fun to watch those guys. I didn't have a real problem with most people. But nicest guys, yeah, I would say Stephen Thompson was definitely one of them. Randy Couture was definitely one of them. BJ Penn, super nice, very quiet at the time, when I was reffing him, and then got more bold. Man, who else?
Phil Davis.
Carlos Newton. Who?
Phil Davis.
Phil Davis, super nice guy, man. I love Phil Davis. Just there's so many good guys out there, and that are still now, coming into the sport and just, doing things a certain way and competing and stuff. It's hard to pick just one, but I've been lucky enough to be part of a whole lot of really good people in the sport.
Next question from Jeff Weary. For John, what's the most epic fight you've reffed? Robbie Lawler versus Rory comes to mind.
That would be up there as one of them. That was a great fight, and that was a longer fight, 4 rounds, Paul Daly versus Nick Diaz for 1 round. Unbelievable fight. I had so many great fights that if you go back and you look at how lucky I was that I was able to be in the cage and be there. But yeah, no doubt that the Robbie Lawler and, that fight against Rory, it was phenomenal. But, John Jones against Alexander Gustafsson the first time. It just got put into the UFC Hall of Fame. What a great fight. I mean, unbelievable. I had so many, and then I had so many that people didn't really get to see. They were in different organizations and, different parts of the world that, man, all of a sudden this fight happens and it's like, oh my God, this is incredible. It's just with people that most fans will not know or never get to see. But, I was lucky to be part of them. But I'll go with the ones that people know. UFC, I will say, we'll go with Lawler and McDonald. I'll take that one over Gustafsson and Jones. For Strikeforce, it has to be the 1 round of Diaz and Daly. For Bellator, it has to be Chandler versus Eddie Alvarez.
Oh yeah,
so
good fight.
There you go. There's a couple.
All right. Next from Michael Forte asks, if Nick wants to return, should he fight someone like Cowboy? And with Robbie back in the win column, should he get a crack at Nate?
No, I don't want to see Nate fight. Nick to me was more of the gold standard for Robbie Lawler. I don't want to see the Nate fight. I think Robbie beats Nate. I think he beats him easily. I don't want to see that fight. I think the Nick, if he does fight again, I don't know. I don't know who he should fight. To be honest, I mean, if we're looking at this rankings here, I don't even know if I'd give him anyone in the top 15. I mean, like, you get into there, Sean Brady's tough as fuck.
No, there's
Neil, Bilal Muhammad, Neil Magny. I mean, like, these guys are nasty good.
Yeah, but hold on. You could there's fights in there that you could look and say, that's a good fight. It's an interesting fight, between Nick, Michael Chiesa.
Yeah, but John, that's also let's go back. This is at 185, Not 170.
Well, I don't know. Is it going to be at 185 or is it going to be at 170? I don't know.
That's the thing. Like, so what are we looking at? He didn't want.
You were saying Neil Magny. That's a welterweight.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, I know. But after I said all that, I was like, wait, they didn't even fight at 170.
No, they fought at
185.
They fought at 185. But I think Nick might. I don't know. I don't know if he'd go down. But I mean, there's so many fights that you can look and say, a Kevin Holland, who's going to be fighting coming up. Tough fight.
Speed, the power.
Tough fight.
I don't know, man. I would say if I was going to go in there, maybe a Darren Till, Kelvin Gastelum. That'd be fun. Like, those ones would probably be fun. But the speed, I don't know. That's going to be the factor, man. The speed for him. He's slow. Yeah, but, I mean, the output is there. So those guys will slow down, whereas he will keep it going. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I could see a Cerrone thing. Maybe Masvidal. Masvidal would fight him, I think, at any weight. Wouldn't care. George is just that guy, And that's a big name. Like, I beat your brother. Now I'm going to beat you. That kind of thing. But
I think Masvidal would be, but see, that's 170 again.
Yeah. But I think George would go up to 85 to fight him.
Yeah.
George don't give a shit. He's talking about money. He's like, I was fighting in the backyard for fucking a couple $1,000s. He's like, fuck this.
What are you talking about? You used to fight in the backyard for fucking $50.
You know what I mean? So he's like, yeah, you're going to sign me up, fight Nick Diaz at 185? Whatever, man. Yeah. Next.
All right. Where were we? Oh, yeah, there we go. Genghis Khan asks, considering Volkanovski fought at heavier weights before, would it be a good move to try lightweight, or is he just too small in size to compete there?
I don't know, man. He might be able to go up. I mean, he was a big guy before, so he knows how to handle his body.
Yeah, he was 215, 220 pounds.
Yeah, he was a big guy. I mean, they were showing pictures of him. It looked like he was they said he was 300. I don't know if that's true. The picture didn't look like he was 300.
Who, Volkanovski?
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, they said he was about 300 pounds.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the frame for 300 pounds.
But that's the media. The media said Volkanovski.
Thank you very much.
300 pounds. Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I would like to see him go up, but if I was to pick guys for him to fight at that weight class, like a Gaethje, Chandler, like that type of fight. I mean, I think he'd have a hard time with Charles Oliveira. Just the wrestling aspect, the jiu-jitsu aspect of it all is.
I don't know. I just saw him work his way out of some good submissions, so I'm gonna go. Volkanovski, that guy's pretty hard to submit.
Yeah. No, he is. But he also put himself in a lot of those positions too.
Yeah.
So, the size, I don't know, all this. I'd be like,
well,
I'd like to see him.
Charles used to fight at featherweight.
Yeah, that's true. I would like to see that run. I want to see him finish out. Like, if Zabit comes back, I want to see him fight Zabit. I want to see him fight like one or two more fights at this weight class. After he beats out on that, because I have no interest in watching him fight Max again, honestly. I just don't. I want to see him fight somebody else. If Max wants to stay at 45, great. But if he was to go up, I'd like to see him do it after like a Zabit fight or whoever else is in that weight class. There's one other guy in there that I'm forgetting right now, but yeah, somewhere in there. That's it. What else?
Next question from Joaquin Luna. Did I read this one already? Which fighter do you guys see as the Tom Brady of MMA? A fighter who can compete well into his 40s and still win championships?
I think the game is different now, John. The days of the Randy Tours and the Anderson Silvas fighting until they're older, I think that's done. I think the newer generation of these young fighters, they've got to be in their prime. This is a different. What you're going to see right now is the sport is going to plateau right now because the younger generation, those guys from 24 to 32 to 33, they're going to own the sport. That's their prime. That's their physical prime where they're becoming men. They're no longer boys. They're men. They're learning their bodies. They're understanding how to diet, nutrition. They're making money. They're taking care of their families. They're doing all these things that come along with being a responsible athlete. You're seeing that. And so I think it's going to be, this is what the sport's going to be now. Kind of how like the NFL is like, hey, look, we're not drafting running backs high anymore, because we know we can get a good running back in the second and the third round. And the prime for a running back is from like, say, 22 to 28. And they start getting rid of them then. First, for the sport of MMA, it's that 26 to 24, 26 up to 33, 34. and then that's their time frame. And I think the sport is evolved now to the point where this is where it's going to be for a while. These younger generations, Roy McDonald was kind of like the first ones. He really just came up training MMA and he became a phenomenal fighter. That's what's going on. These kids now, I mean, I've got a ton of kids training jiu-jitsu at my gym. Fucking good. Like really good, and you see some of the other gyms, other top jiu-jitsu gyms, the Ruotilla brothers, phenomenal jiu-jitsu. I mean, like, this is not what the level was years ago.
No.
Like 46 and 41 and 48-year-olds, they're not, there's no sport. There won't be any room for them in the sport anymore.
Yeah, it's to get into the 40. Let's break it down real quick so we can make you understand why we say this. First off, when you're starting this sport, you can't start this sport now late. Randy Couture started, he was 33 years of age. Okay, so when you take a look at how many fights he had, he didn't have, he had about 30 fights. He just came on the scene and he was so dominant with his wrestling and very good at game planning, very good with conditioning. So he was able to do very well in the sport based upon not everyone being good in a lot of areas. People are good in one area, sometimes two areas. But I think Yoel Romero is the closest thing to a Randy Couture that you would be able to find today. At 44, trying to compete against Phil Davis, it didn't work out for him. But he it's not like he got beat up. He just didn't do enough in the fight for him to get a win. But even him, and you're looking at a genetic freak when you're looking at Yoel Romero. At 44, he has bursts of the times you can go, he's still fast. He has burst of speed. He has burst of explosiveness, but he can't sustain it because it just, it takes too much out of you. When you are in that position of being in the sport and you're like a John Jones and you're at a dominant position at about 25 years of age, it's easy for someone on the outside to think, oh, you can just keep doing this, keep doing this, keep doing this. It's not easy as the person to continually put your butt into the gym, grind hard, try to be learning, and to get excited about doing this once again. A lot of people think that it's a lot of fun to sit in front of the media. It's not. Okay, most guys don't like it because it's not fun, because they, sometimes the questions they ask are good questions and you don't mind answering them. And sometimes they're really fucking stupid questions and ones that you've heard and had to answer now for the last 10 years. And it drives you nuts even having to think about it or to answer it again. But you're doing it because this is your job and you're going to answer the question. And then you go through that and it's not only the media things you're seeing, then you're doing interviews on the computer or on the phone, and all of it takes time and all of it takes energy, and it just becomes something that is not fun. And all this starts to wear on you, and your ability to get excited about being there just starts to wane. And then it's when that starts to wane, then your training starts to wane a little bit. And it's just not an easy process to keep yourself at that upper echelon, and to maintain that desire just starts to go away. And I'm just going to flat out say it. Your body changes and your mental outlook changes, and what used to be fun all of a sudden it's not too much fun. Now, it's how I make a living, but it's not fun anymore, and that changes the game too. So there's a lot that goes into it. I don't think you're going to see anybody in the 40-year-old range being in the upper level as far as being champion.
Yeah, you got to remember though too, as fighters get older,
heavyweights would be your closest.
Their responsibilities change, and their outlook on life changes. Their kids are getting older. They're missing out on baseball. They're missing out on soccer. They're missing out on birthdays, whatever it is, because they're training or because they're traveling for a fight. Whatever it is, there's a lot of things that come along with it. And as a fighter gets older, those things become more important than just the sport itself. And you've seen fighters as they get older, it's not because they're not good anymore. It's because the priorities have set in. Look, Robbie Lawler still has it, but he's got kids. He's married. He's got a life. Like, you see him start to kind of just pull himself away. He came back and got motivated for this fight. We haven't seen him look this good in a long time.
No.
Like, look at his body. Look at the way he physically looked. He looked
Look at the way
amazing.
he performed.
Look at, when was the last time we saw him? Yeah, the output he had in that fight.
Not even close. He hasn't had a fight in years that has been that close as far as output.
Yeah, and so when you're having that, like, you can see the priority change. His mental set was different for that fight. He knew that was, and he even told Nick in the cage, he said, I appreciate you, man, coming back and bringing the best out of me.
Motivated.
That's important shit. So as you get older and you hit that 40-year-old, 41, 42, your priorities in life change. Maybe training is still fun, but it's not as big a priority to you, though, as being at your kid's soccer game or your kid's, birthday parties or whatever it is, making sure that you're part of the family, gatherings and things like that. So those things change, because I remember countless times, 3 times. Two was Thanksgiving and one was Christmas, that John Fitch and I were at AKA at 10 o'clock at night on Thanksgiving Day doing cardio, because we were basically missing Thanksgiving dinner. My whole family's there. It's like you go there. What are you going to do? Be around food? You got to cut your weight. It's like 2 weeks before the fight. You're like, this sucks, man. Sucks. I always tried not to take fights around that time, but sometimes they were in San Jose, and money is good.
Didn't have a choice.
Next, all right, we'll do a couple more.
One thing that needs to be brought up here is as the fighter, as the person that is there in the gym, you do get tired of the training. The one thing you don't get tired of, and that you crave and that you go there for, is the camaraderie of all the other fighters that are in the gym with you. Those are your brothers. That's the fun part, is the interaction and the time with those guys. But the training itself, it wears on you.
Yeah. All right, a couple more.
Next one from Uppercut Cannon. Is Brian Ortega versus Oliveira the match we didn't know we needed?
I don't know. Brian is phenomenal on the ground. Charles obviously phenomenal on the ground. I think on the feet, they're both good. I think Brian's probably hits a little bit harder. But I think at 155, where's the fight going to take place? I don't want to see Charles go back to 45, because he looks absolutely amazing at 55. And Brian, I know he could go to 55, but is he ready to go there now? It doesn't seem like he has a hard time making the weight. So I think they're just going to stay where they're at. It'd be a great fight, but they just stay where they're at, work it out.
I look at it, there's a couple things. Charles is not, in no way is he brittle, but he doesn't accept damage as well as Brian. Brian's tough. Brian will take big shots and continue to come forward, where it starts to wear Charles down a little bit more, and you've seen it in prior fights. But right now, he's fighting at a level that is way above where he's been in the past. I look at it and say right now they're in 2 different weight classes. If Brian wanted to move up, it would be a fight I would like to see. It'd be fun. I think Brian, as far as jiu-jitsu wise, along with Charles, he matches up well. They're both outstanding there. I think in the stand-up, they're both outstanding there. They're different. I think Brian takes big shots, a little bit better than Charles, but I think Charles is a little more diverse in the way he sets up his stand-up a little bit more. And it would be a fun, matchup. I'd love to see it. I'm just not sure that that's what's going to come. And right now, Brian's not even close to being in a position for that fight to happen, because he's on a loss, and that's the champ.
Yeah.
D. Canellis asks, why do champions no longer walk out with their belt like they used to? Is that the commission's call?
No, it has nothing to do with it. Commissions have nothing to do with that belt. In MMA, the belt is a promotional belt. When you're looking at boxing, the belt is a sanctioning body belt. It's the WBC, which is a sanctioning body, the WBA, the WBO, the IBF, all these, and the thing that, that's what separates boxing and MMA in a lot of ways, because in boxing, it is illegal for the promoter to have any control over the belt. They have to go through the sanctioning bodies, and the sanctioning bodies take money. They take money out of the fighter's purse. People don't think about this, but it's a lot of money. Okay, when you've got a big fight and it's for the WBC, middleweight championship, and Canelo is fighting for it, he's paying $200,000 out of his purse for the sanctioning of that fight by the WBC. $200,000.
Yeah, he's making $35 million.
I know it doesn't bother him, but that $200,000 is ridiculous.
It is.
So MMA, is not part of the Ali Act. So yes, promotions are in charge of their belts. That's why the UFC can strip somebody and take the belt, or it can say, oh, we're going to do an interim title fight, because they're the ones that control the belt. It's nothing. And they're the ones that have said this. I'm not the one that came up with this. But when they were, put to the task, they said, well, it's just a ceremonial belt, because, people are trying to push them into a corner, saying that, that belt has a value, and it does. It does have a value, but they were trying to keep themselves safe from what they were saying. But they're a promotion, and they can have, the fighter can walk out. I've seen fighters walk out with it. That's really, I think, on the fighter. The thing to remember is the belt itself, as soon as the fighter steps into that cage, they have the belt. That means they're stepping in last. But as soon as they step into the cage, that belt right now is no longer theirs. It's up for grabs. Make sense?
Makes sense. Very interesting. Very interesting. Next question is from Thunderfist McBeefcake, who asks, if the ref ends a fight but has made an error, can it be a no contest?
Sure it can. Depending upon what occurs. You can have something like a headbutt, we'll say.
The commissions don't give a shit. They ain't
they in years they didn't. But in past, they did, and I go all the time to Robbie Peralta versus Mackin Smyser, who I did the fight. There was a finish in it. But couldn't see. If you watched it real time, you'll never see the head clash. If you watch it in slow motion, you can see the head clash. But it looks like it's a punch, but it's actually their heads come together. And it's actually Robbie Peralta that ends up with a big old hematoma on his head, but it hurt Mackin Smyser and put him down. And, that fight, I went to Mackins and told him, hey, go contest it with the Athletic Commission. I'll say that I missed it. And they overturned that one, but they didn't overturn yours. So there's no consistency in it is the problem.
Yeah, they don't want to look bad.
If you wave it off, though, right, like you wave Josh's off because of TKO, can you make a judgment call in the moment to change your mind on how the fight is decided?
If you call it off, if you're calling off the fight, you're not saying it was a foul.
No, what he's saying though is this: is if how you thought that it wasn't a headbutt that dropped me, you thought it was a punch, and then you saw it on the replay.
Yeah,
there's no way you could have walked over and just said, "Hey, it needs to be changed to a no contest at that moment." Is what I think he's trying to get to.
No, I can't change that once it's been called. You can't go back and say, "Oh, we're going to change this now." And now you can with instant replay. So if you had instant replay that you could go to and you say, I want to see instant replay, yes, you can go back after calling and say, we're going to say this is a no contest. Yes.
Got it.
Last question from Chocolate Pappy asks, should Bellator adopt the 5 rounds instead of 3-round main events?
All right, so here's my take on this, and my take's been this for the longest time. I'm not opposed to the 5-round main events. What I'm opposed to is that every fight should be a 5-round main event. I don't believe that. I believe it should be for the number 1 contender spot. If you know that this fight is going to be whoever wins this fight is going to fight for the title next, I'm down to go ahead and have Bellator do that. I think it'd be great. Like, hey, you know that this fight, these 2 guys are the best 2 guys right now that should be fighting next for the title. That's the only time I would consider it. I think it's just another shady way for promotions to get more action out of their fighters and take time off their career, is making them train for a 5-round fight, then making them fight a 5-round fight. If I have a main event that is not, there's no title implications there, but like, sure, it's a great fight. Sure, I would love to see 5 rounds, yes. But I also want to see those fighters fight a lot longer if they're good fighters. So I don't know how to look at it that way. I would rather just have the 5-round fights for fights that are considered to be main event, like number 1 contender spots. That's it.
I totally understand what Josh is saying as far as he's looking at it in the fighter's perspective of the more 5-round fights I am part of, the shorter my career could be. Now, if they go 5 rounds, that's true. There's no doubt about it because they can definitely have their toll on you. But a 3-round fight can have its toll on you too. Bellator has used 5-round fights for their Grand Prix. They've done the featherweight Grand Prix where all the fights after the first.
Well, when the title's involved, because they didn't do it with the heavyweight one because there was no title involved. But when the title's involved, everyone has to fight 5 rounds because the champ has to fight 5 rounds.
Exactly. So, they've done it. I look and say, if you become a fighter that's a main event, yeah, I'd like to see it as a 5-round fight. It just makes sense to me. It's saying that you have been elevated into a different platform, a different echelon than everyone else, and that's something for people to look at and say, that's when you can ask for more. You're the guy that's headlining the shows, but they're asking more of you. I kind of like it. I would like to see them do main events where they're 5 rounds.
I guess, look, if I'm going to do that though, if I'm going to lean that way, which I know that there's an extra bonus in there, but the bonus has got to be more than what they're doing. Like normally it's 25, sometimes it's 50,000, so $25,000 to $50,000 bonus if you're the main event. So as long as that's in there and not just the hey, we'll take care of you, that shit don't fly. I think a lot of fighters have heard that shit, and nothing ever comes.
Never go with we're going to take care of you.
Yeah, don't go with that. Nope, I want to see it in writing.
Doesn't
on that
work.
Contract. So, all right, well, hey guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this Q&A that we did. Special show for you guys this week. John and I will be traveling to London tomorrow, so we will see you guys when we get back. Next week's show, we still filming on Saturday because I think we land back here on Saturday.
No, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. So you guys, that's why you guys hit the notifications bell to let you guys know when we drop our next show, because there will be some international travel going on these next couple weeks for John and I.
Could change stuff.
Yeah, it could change, but it's like, so the shows could be dropping at some different times. Go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Wayne in. Use the promo code ANDSTILL. Pick up one of our shirts there. Also hit the subscription button, the subscribe button.
What was that? Did you say?
I'm getting tired, John. I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired, bro. Hit the subscribe button and the bell and the thumbs up as well. And leave a comment down below, too, to help with our algorithm, to help get it all out. Help with our algorithm. Get that whole thing all out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. And John, take us away.
The last thing I want to say to everyone, thanks for watching, and we will see you